All right. Welcome back to the Dixiecryptid YouTube channel and the What If It's True podcast. I know it's been a few weeks since I put up a video. At the end, I'll explain to you what's been going on, but I appreciate all the people checking on me through emails and Facebook messages. Haven't been able to answer them all, but anyway, I'll explain it here in a little bit. But I've got an email here. I've actually got two emails that I'm going to share with you. I think they're really good and I hope you enjoy them. The first one, well, the woman doesn't say whether to use her name. You know the story on that, but here's what she writes. When I was in my 20s, we would drag on McHenry and J Street in Modesto, California. That's the town that American Graffiti is based on. I know, where were you in 1962, right? Well, I was 10 years old, so that story wasn't about me. But even in my teens and early adulthood, my friends and I dragged McHenry and J Street to 9th Street, and then we'd turn around and go back up J Street to McHenry Boulevard, and then to Brigmore Road, and then back down. We'd race our friends and show off our cars, and then we'd sit somewhere on the boulevard and we'd drink and shoot the breeze. One night, my boyfriend Dan and I and his twin brother Donnie, along with Donnie's girlfriend, and my brother Jerry and his girlfriend, we were all crammed in Dan's 55 Chevy. Well, we were bored, so we decided to go for a ride, and we ended up going above Sonora into the heavily forested mountains. We stopped in Sonora to grab a burger, and then we got back on the road. We were talking and drinking and having a good time, and we weren't paying much attention to how far we were getting into the mountains. And the men in the vehicle were drinking more than the women were, except the driver. Dan had a drink, but he wasn't drunk. It wasn't long before we had to stop again so they could pay rent on their beer. We found a dirt road to pull onto so they could get out and run in the woods and do their thing, and we weren't far off the highway, but we were far enough to allow some privacy. All three guys, they were over 6 feet tall and they weighed between 180 and 200 pounds each. They liked to brag that they weren't afraid of anything. They hadn't been in the woods for long when we heard the scariest scream I have ever heard in my life. We could hear it plain as day inside the car with the windows rolled up. All three of those brave men came running out of the forest like a bunch of frightened mice. They jumped into the car as everyone was asking, "What was that?" They told us that they felt that scream to their very core. They didn't see what made it, but we wasted no time getting back on the highway and back to the safety of Modesto. I think it was a Bigfoot, and it was mad at those men for marking its territory. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. They hear a scream, scares them to death. All right, we got one more. And these are 2 short emails, but I'm going to explain what's going on here in a minute, so y'all bear with me. But I hope you enjoy this story. This person, he gives his name, but he doesn't say whether to use it or not. But he claims the story is absolutely true. My parents and my 2 brothers and sister and I lived on a small farm in North Alabama. We were surrounded by wooded areas and green pastures and ponds and creeks. We spent a lot of time camping and roaming outdoors as kids, and we would stay gone until dark. It was a typical summer day when we threw a blanket on one of our ponies and we decided to go back to a wooded area where we liked to hang out. And there was a creek that wound its way through the trees, and we cooled ourselves there when the southern heat waves blew through the countryside like Satan's storm. Well, our ponies were very gentle and fun to ride. We usually headed through the first gap in the fence around our property and onward into a big pasture where we would stop at a pond and give our ponies a drink. And then we continued on for a while until we got near the entrance of the woods that led to the creek. The place was so familiar to our animals that they always walked down to the edge of the water without much prodding from us. We were 50 yards from entering the woods, and the pony stopped. We shook his bridle, and we tapped his sides, but he was rooted in place. Then he snorted and pawed at the ground and began backing up. And I thought maybe he sensed a snake, but the grass was too short to camouflage any such slithering reptiles. On the other side of the creek, there were some scattered trees with low-lying brush. In the south, we have a vine called a trumpet. It has big red flowers and it envelopes trees and buildings. They're all around our house and woods. I don't know if it was experiencing an optical illusion, but the pair of red flowers before me resembled eyes, and they seemed to be moving quickly through the foliage. The pony was getting seriously agitated. I was worried my sister might get thrown off, so we turned and we headed home. I had my arm over the back of the pony running along beside him, and something I saw on TV shows about how Indians rode horses. We didn't look back until we had the house in view. I had never heard of Bigfoot or anything like that at the time, but you know how you can glimpse something odd once and never unsee it? Each time I set foot onto my parents' farm in the summer and look out toward those trees covered with trumpet vines, I feel like I'm surrounded by dozens and dozens of red-piercing eyes. Oh, I can see that. That makes absolute sense to me. We have kudzu. I don't think kudzu has red flowers, but matter of fact, I've been fighting a kudzu takeover back around my neighbor's lakes. Y'all see me riding around his lakes on my bicycle? I'm trying to keep them cut back. I'm using my lawnmower, not even using my tractor, just to keep a trail open. That's all I'm trying to do. It's hard to get rid of that kudzu, but you can keep it cut back. It's real tough. Anyway, I'm just rambling. So that's the last of the stories, and I know this is a short podcast, but here's the deal. I am working on 2 projects at the time with my regular job. They are very important. Both are very fast-tracked. I probably shouldn't have taken 2 jobs on at one time, but I did because the money was so good that I thought, well, I think I can work both of these in. And to be honest, at the beginning, I tried to keep up with the podcast and keep up with my work. I've been doing that for 5 years. I will have been doing this podcast for 5 years this coming September, next month. And I'm just worn out from doing it. And in all those 5 years, I've neglected a lot of home projects that I need to get done. So anytime I have off, instead of doing a podcast, I'm working on home projects. I'm trying to get a camper fixed up so my wife and I can do some camping. Just little things like that, but that won't last forever. But from here on out, I'm going to try to do some short podcasts and really stay connected to you guys. But I just kind of needed some time. I just needed to drop one of these activities. My phone's going off. I needed to drop one of these activities just to give my mind a break and do something different. So that's what's been going on. I've got quite a few emails from people, and I appreciate you guys checking on me. I'm doing fine. I'm healthy. My wife's healthy. The dogs are healthy. The chickens are healthy. You know, we lost about 18 chickens this spring to some predator came in the yard and killed about half our chickens. We've raised all those back up. I'm going to show videos of those in the next week or 2, and they're really pretty birds or young birds, and they're happy and they're jumping around. And so I've got some things planned, and I've got some different ways of presenting these stories that I have in mind that I'm going to give a try this fall that should be interesting. And anyway, I'll quit rambling. I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what was going on. I'll try to get a couple of short podcasts up each week. I think that's probably about all I can do right now, but thanks for hanging with me. Love you all. I'm doing fine. I'm just busy. I should be through this slug of work maybe by the end of September, middle of October, and then I'll be back to doing, good, long, regular podcasts, and just the way it is. I got to make a living, and I'm trying not to work myself in the dirt. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.